Okay, our next speaker is Kurt Rakouskas, who's with the Environmental Council of the States, and I'm sure he's pronounced it, put his bio in his recording. I just want to mention that he's going to talk about the Be Well Informed tool, which we had someone speak about in 2017 when it was first developed in New Hampshire. And so this is an update to that as far as where that's gone since then. I know a lot of states were interested, and it really has some potential to get a lot more coverage. And I'm really interested in what Kurt has to say.
Well, hello, everybody, and thanks very much for the opportunity to talk with you today. My name is Kurt Rakouskas, and I work for an organization called the Environmental Council of the States, or ECOS. If you aren't familiar with ECOS, we are the membership association for the directors of state and territorial environmental protection agencies in the U.S. And our job broadly is to help our members organize with one another, better coordinate with US EPA and other co-regulators, and share information about best practices to help better protect the environment and human health. I should say right off the bat that I am not an expert on private wells. Most of the work I do with our members is focused on topics like information management, open data, data sharing, and IT modernization. So I tend to be a bit of a generalist when it comes to actual program knowledge. So if I misspeak or say anything that doesn't sound quite right, don't hesitate to drop a note in the chat and call me on it. I'm here today to share some information with you about a shared tool called Be Well Informed that ECOS is now hosting as an informational resource for private well programs and for private well owners. I'll also talk a little bit about the relationship between Be Well Informed and an initiative called E-Enterprise for the Environment. And my overall hope or goal for this presentation is to give you some information about what the tool is, how it works, and also let you know about some planned enhancements we have coming down the pike, and hopefully convince some of you to kick the tires and consider offering this service as a tool for private well owners in your own jurisdiction. So what is Be Well Informed? It's pretty straightforward. This is an online tool that is designed to help agencies, help well owners interpret and better understand the results of water quality tests on their well water. The original idea for the tool came from the good folks in the state of New Hampshire. And in fact, some of you may have seen a presentation on their tool a couple years back at one of these conferences. That same tool is now available as a shared service that other agencies can use. And I'll talk a little bit more about how that came to be in just a few minutes. So as you all know, a typical water quality report from a lab shows the raw numbers of different substances detected in a sample, but the reports don't often put those data in meaningful context for the well owner. So it can be a challenge for an uninitiated individual to understand whether they ought to be concerned or if they should take action to treat the water to ensure that it's safe to drink and use. Oftentimes, many of you that work in environmental or public health agencies end up being called upon to help people interpret their results. And that requires somebody from the public to track down the right office and the right individual, and then wait for that individual to have the time available to review their request and respond. It's not a great situation for either the agency or the public. So with Be Well Informed, participating agencies can store information about their specific drinking water standards, along with guidance about health concerns and treatment options if those standards are exceeded. So the public can come to the site and get instant feedback on their water quality and consistent messaging about what they should do next. And it's all automated, so there's no agency staff time required to provide that feedback. Homeowners are getting the information they need, and agency staff can stay focused on other programmatic work. So how does Be Well Informed work? Again, it's fairly straightforward. The heaviest lift is gathering all of the information needed to configure the tool initially for your agency. But you only have to do that once, and we have templates to help with that. So the kinds of information I'm talking about here are all of the substances and thresholds that your agency has set. It also includes your preferred messaging about the risks associated with any exceedances and recommended treatment options that your agency wishes to provide to people. Once we have that information in the right format and uploaded to the tool, then well owners can come to the site at bewellinformed.info. That is the URL for the site. And they can enter their test results. And all of that is done totally anonymously. There's no need to create an account or enter any personal information of any kind. And the tool does not store any of the test result data. It simply is comparing them against the standards provided by the agency, and it returns information about whether the results are within drinking water limits and what action to take if there's an exceedance. So the screenshot on the right here shows a small sample of the kinds of information that a user would see after entering their test results. They get a pretty intuitive report that shows each element from their report and whether or not it meets or exceeds the standard in their jurisdiction. So I do want to take a couple minutes to show you what this looks like from an actual user's perspective on the live site. Let me just go over here. And I have to say from the get-go, don't focus too heavily on what it looks like right now, but rather on what it does. The current tool it's not particularly easy on the eyes. There's some backstory on why it looks the way it does that I'll explain a little later. We know it's a little unattractive. We know it's a little bit clunky in spots, and we've got plans to completely overhaul the site this year and make it a much better user experience for partner agencies and for the well owners using the site. And again, I'll get into that in a little more detail soon. So the first step for a visiting well owner is going to be to check whether their state or locality is a participating partner. So I've pulled down the drop-down list. Right now, we've got 8 agencies from 8 different jurisdictions participating. For our purposes here today, I'll play the part of a well owner in Massachusetts. So I'll select Massachusetts and click Go. And when I click through, I get a screen where I can enter my test results for all of the analytes that Massachusetts supports. I'm going to go over to this screen here. I've put a little bit of dummy data in just so you don't have to watch me type all of this. And then I'll just scroll down and click Submit. And the tool will churn on that for just a minute. And we should see the results of the analysis pop up here in just a sec. And here we are. So this top portion here just has a little bit of explanatory language that Massachusetts has provided about the results, some background information, some helpful links and so forth. And then if you scroll down, you get the actual summary of the results. And I can see, it looks like I've got an exceedance for arsenic above the drinking water limit for arsenic indicated by the red X here. Looks like I'm in good shape everywhere else. So if I come down to this section here, there's some information on treatment options. So here I've got a recommendation to install a treatment system, an acid neutralizer, and then a point of use arsenic absorption media filter system. There's some additional detail here in the links that I could go and find. And all of this is information that Massachusetts has provided to us and has been uploaded into the tool. And that can be changed or further customized at any point if the situation warrants. And this just has a little bit more details about the result. In this case, just the exceedance for arsenic. It's got some information about potential health concerns, and then some further detail about treatment options and how I should proceed. Again, all of that has been provided to ECOS by Massachusetts, and we've put it up in the tool for them. Again, some additional detail down here for each of the analytes. In most cases, in this particular instance, we're in good shape because there were no further exceedances. If you like, you can the homeowner can download this report as a PDF, which is helpful, so they can save that and refer back to it later. And that's about it. You can click here for some additional resources. If you do have follow-up questions and want to talk to somebody at Massachusetts DEP, there's contact information here. Some additional resources, including CDC and EPA resources, links to Massachusetts DEP's private well program. All of this, again, can be as detailed or customized as the agency would like. Let me go back to my slides here. Right now, as I said, we have 8 agencies that are actively using the tool. We got 7 states colored in blue, and then 1 county government, Wake County government, North Carolina. And ECOS is continuing to hear from other agencies that are interested. Right now we have South Carolina, Vermont, Maryland, and Minnesota, all actively working to come on board with the tool. We've heard from a number of other agencies that have expressed some level of interest at one point or another, which is great. And we'd love to add to those numbers. And I'll talk a little bit more towards the end about how you can learn more about what it takes to join and become a partner agency. I do want to take just a minute to explain where the shared version of this tool came from and how and why ECOS became involved. That may be a question some of you have. Why is ECOS doing this? So ECOS and our member agencies are part of an initiative called E-Enterprise for the Environment. E-Enterprise is a partnership among state environmental agencies, tribal agencies, and US EPA that is all about improving and modernizing the delivery of environmental protection services. It's based on these 3 pillars that are described on the slide here. So shared governance and the idea of working together as co-regulators to identify problems and collaboratively develop solutions. We do work to try and improve processes, to streamline workflows, and make program implementation more efficient. And then we look for opportunities to use shareable technology solutions to help solve some of those problems. A couple of years back, the leadership of the enterprise saw a presentation from New Hampshire on their Be Well Informed and liked it so much they decided to work with the state to try and build out the tool as a shared service inside of an online platform called the E-Enterprise portal, which was hosted by US EPA. So they did just that and added Be Well Informed as one of the services or widgets available inside the portal. For a variety of different reasons, the portal concept never fully got legs, and it was decommissioned by EPA. But eEnterprise wanted to preserve Be Well Informed and keep that functionality available for folks. So we ended up raising our hand at ECOS and agreed to host basically a stripped down version of the eEnterprise portal with just the Be Well Informed widget inside of it, which is why the current site looks and feels the way it does. There had originally been a number of different tiles for different tools there. Now it's just the one lonely one. ECOS has a cooperative agreement with EPA to support state engagement in eEnterprise, and we can use some of those funds to host shared tools like Be Well Informed. And our leadership at ECOS feels like this is a service that's useful for our members. So as long as we have funding through eEnterprise, that grant funding, we plan to support the tool as a free resource for any agency that would like to join. And you don't need to be a member of ECOS either. We have state public health agencies that are using the tool now. As I said, we've got a county level government that's a partner. But one of the benefits of the shared service approach here is that there's really pretty minimal cost associated with adding a new agency. So as long as we have some funding to support the hosting and maintenance of the tool, our plan is to keep it available as a free service to whoever wants to use it. Recently, the leadership of eEnterprise decided they would like to see us enhance Be Well Informed and expand participation. So we are gearing up now to use some of our grant dollars to do just that. So in 2022, our plan is again to completely overhaul the site, extract it from that portal platform that it lives in now, and give it a fresh look and a much better user experience. So we worked with some of our current partner agencies to get ideas on site enhancements and new functionality. We're getting close to having a scope of work ready and a request for proposals to put out on the street for the contractor support that we're going to need to do the rebuild. Once we have that contract vehicle in place, we're going to have a better idea for the exact timeline on which we can deliver a redesign tool. But our goal is to try and get that done in this calendar year. We've got a small group of agency partners that are lined up now to help steer that redevelopment process, provide some input into the scope of work, into contractor selection, and then once we start development, act as a focus group to do some user acceptance testing and so forth. If that is something that you would like to learn a little more about and perhaps participate in, please drop me a line at the email address that's up at the bottom of the screen there. That's my email address, krakouskas@ecos.org, and I can get you some more information and we can talk about how to get you linked in. These are just some of the examples of the kinds of enhancements that we're hoping to pursue. Obviously, one goal is to just make it look better and make it a better overall experience for well owners that use the site. There are lots of opportunities to improve the navigation and help folks with the data entry process to make that as smooth and easy as possible. We also want to make it easier for partner agencies to join and go through the process of providing all the information needed to configure and customize the site. The threshold data, the info on treatment options, contact information, all of that you saw. That process today is a little more tedious than we would like it to be. So there's room to make that work better for everyone as well. We definitely want to have a responsive design. So there's support for a mobile version of the site. We want to have a more robust test environment so agencies have a better way to test out their configuration and make sure it looks and behaves just the way they like before going live. So lots of good stuff ahead. The current tool is great, but we've got a path to making it even better, which is pretty exciting. If you are interested in becoming a partner agency, you can certainly decide to hold off until the improvements are complete. But if you're raring to go and ready, you also don't need to wait for the enhancements to be finished. You can still join now. As I said, we've got a couple of agencies that are doing just that. And I don't think there would be a lot of wasted effort in doing that. One of our goals is going to be to move existing agencies over into the new tool with as minimal amount of effort as possible. Again, we don't know exactly what that will look like, but my goal is to make that a pretty easy transition for everyone, something that would be handled mostly by our contractor. So just port the information from the existing tool into whatever the new one looks like. If you are interested in learning more about the current onboarding process, this here is the best place to start. This is on the Be Well Informed website. It's at bewellinformed.info/for-partners. There are a couple of resources here that I want to highlight. The first is the onboarding kit. This is a pretty comprehensive document that describes kind of the whole process from soup to nuts, step by step. Answers to most of your questions are probably going to be in that document somewhere. There's also a partner agreement template that we ask all agencies to sign. This just gives ECOS formal permission to add an agency to the site. That's probably something we're going to look at altering and amending and maybe adding some additional information to it when the new site gets launched. But this is the agreement we have in place for the time being. And then there are some sample XML files. All of the customized data for each agency, the analytes, the thresholds, the treatment options, and so forth, all of that gets configured by editing these template files that are on the site and then uploading them to Be Well Informed with the information specific to your agency. If you've never worked with XML before, it's really just a specially formatted text file. It can look intimidating and confusing at first, but there are free XML editors out there that are available for download that make them fairly easy to work with once you get in there. Again, the process of editing these XML files is described in the onboarding kit. And by starting with one of the other states' existing templates that we've got here for download, you can save some effort because you don't have to create everything from scratch. You can go in there and customize and edit it to meet your needs, but you've got a starting point. If you are interested in becoming a new partner, I definitely encourage you to check out some of these resources. And absolutely reach out and contact me with any questions at all. At any point. I'm more than happy to try and help. I can also put you in touch with any of the other partner states or agencies. If you have questions about what their onboarding process was like, what their user experience has been like, since they've been through it before, they may have some time-saving tips. They've all been very happy to help and generous with their time to do a little bit of peer-to-peer mentoring when it's needed. And I'm more than happy to make those connections. So that concludes my remarks. I hope this was useful and helpful information. And I look forward to hearing from you about offering Be Well Informed to folks in your agency's area. Thanks very much for the opportunity to talk with you all today. I very much appreciate it. We can get to questions.
All right, thanks, Kurt. That was awesome. So there are a couple questions. One you answered in the chat. Second one from Elizabeth. It's there's a lot of information there, but I think there's probably a fairly simple answer you're going to give. So if you've already read that.
Yeah, I have. I can take a shot at it. So it's to answer the question, the tool is pretty flexible. Each agency can set whatever their own thresholds are for each substance. So if you want that to be the federal standard, that's totally fine. If your agency has set a stricter standard for a particular substance, then you can put that one in there. Your example of Massachusetts is a good one, because they do have PFAS substances among the substances that you can test for and enter information for, and their thresholds are set at their lower, more stringent state thresholds than the federal EPA guidance. So it does have, because of the ability to do that, you can be pretty flexible in terms of the messaging you provide. So if there's a certain action you should take at a given level, but there's something you should take into consideration at a slightly higher level that's not quite at the MCL, but maybe a level at which to be concerned. I think you can build that into the messaging that the tool provides as well. So it's fairly flexible, and I think that's something it can accommodate.
Yeah, and it's really up to each agency, right? They set their own values, and I mean, ECOS is facilitating all this, and so it's really not your role to pick those values.
No, you tell us what you want, and that's what ends up in there.
So I'm at the University of Illinois at the State Water Survey. So I have a question. I'm not our public health agency. We have an Illinois Department of Public Health that regulates well construction and all that stuff. We house the state's well logs. We have a lab. We're very active. Would I need Illinois Department of Health's blessing or a letter from them to do this for Illinois, for instance? And really, in more general, my question is, does it have to be the state health agency or the state lead for private well type work? Because it seems like that's what it is. And I don't know if there's even that question's ever come up, but we'd be interested in trying to help Illinois get there.
It's a really good question. It's not one that has come up. I think we would, if we were to go forward, we would at least want to include them in the conversation so that they're aware of it. If that's the agency that is setting the standards, we would probably want to have their blessing as well. Sure. We're kind of making this up as we go a little bit, because we took over the tool fairly recently. But we'd be more than happy to talk with you and with whatever agency, whether it's the Department of Health or the environmental agency in the state that runs the private well program.
And I think our Department of Health would totally be up for that, as long as we ran things through them and all that. And I ask that for myself and for Illinois, but also for others that are from other states where maybe they aren't that agency, but they are going to need to develop that partnership first if they want to try to get this done. And I would guess that most public health agencies would be really grateful to have a partner who is willing to put in some of the legwork to develop those files and get everything on board.
I would think so too.
It'd be great to see all 50 states have a place on this site.
We would love it. Yeah.
So, okay. So Elizabeth asked, in our model, we would recommend quarterly retesting for arsenic above 50. We could incorporate that into the tool.
Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, it's pretty flexible in terms of the types of treatment orders or advice that you give. I mean, there's just containers for that advice, and you put in whatever advice you want to provide. So if you've got different guidance or recommendations in your agency's jurisdiction, then it's flexible enough to allow for that. Yeah.
And we were so excited when New Hampshire developed this in the first place, because it had two improvements that all the other ones that had been online didn't have. One, it allowed you to pick the units. So if the units, all the other ones before that, you had to convert it to milligrams per liter, which can be a real problem if you mess up the math. And the other is it had these resources that you're talking about that were specific to New Hampshire for their version, but it was their guidance on what well owners should do. And so that's really the power, I think, in this, is that each state still maintains control of how they want to educate or provide outreach or advice to their well owners.
Yeah,
so that's really
exactly
cool.
Right.
Oh, 50%, not greater than 50. The old MCL for arsenic was 50 ppb, and it changed to 10 in 2006 for public water supplies. So I saw that and ran. Sorry about that. All right. You can also reach Kurt through through the tool, or if you later, if somebody has a question, you can always reach out to us and we will get information to him. Thanks, Kurt. I appreciate it. And all our speakers this morning, thank you so much. It is 12:03 Central Time. And so we will be back at 1 o'clock. We have 3 lightning talks and then 2 other presentations. And so please join us. I think you'll find it interesting. So thank you, everyone who's been here and to this morning, and we look forward to seeing you the rest of the conference. All right. Oh, and I should mention, oh, that's okay. At 12:30, some of us will probably be in the networking area. If anybody wants to talk, I'd be glad to talk to whoever. All right. Thank you.